So something crossed my mind recently. I was watching a YouTuber that talks about Star Wars in a very positive light because let's face it, these days, that's very much needed. Which viewing order is the most preferable way to go with Star Wars, especially for any newcomers to the franchise? Release order, chronological, or the machete order? For those who don't know, that's 4, 5, then the prequel trilogy, and then 6. If you were to ask me this a few years ago, maybe even further, around 2015, I still would have insisted on release order, but now having seen all the newer movies and how the discourse around Star Wars can shift over time, my opinion now is that I don't really know, but I can see the arguments for all three. With the newer movies though, as far as the machete order is concerned, that does get a little dicey, because when it was just 6 movies, that was easier to follow. But if you're going to include the newer stuff, do you put Solo in front of that, along with Rogue One, then 4 and 5, then the prequels, and then 6, and follow up with 7, 8, and 9? There's probably somebody out there that's going to come up with this new type of order, viewing order anyway, with the newer films in mind. I am curious to see how they do that. Release order is the easiest way to go because you could see how the franchise evolved over time with its filmmaking techniques and its storytelling and the visuals and how the films have aged along with how Hollywood has managed to evolve with their approach to filmmaking. And I guess you could see in a way how the Star Wars fandom felt over time with how they responded to the originals and how they responded initially with the prequels. But mind, they weren't exactly received so positively 10 plus years ago. And then come in the newer films with a new sense of energy after certain fans felt disillusioned with what came before. And then of course there's the chronological way. You get to see how things in the timeline progressed, from Phantom Menace to Rise of Skywalker, the overarching story of Anakin, and how it ended up with the newer generation in Rey and Kylo Ren carrying on the legacy. There was a video I saw some time ago where this guy introduced the Star Wars movies to one of his closest friends who had never seen any of them before this video. I think this was before The Rise of Skywalker, so maybe he saw it afterward, maybe he didn't, I don't know. And funny enough, he said that Episode 7 was his favorite Star Wars movie, and they were all shocked by what he said. That's a whole nother discussion entirely. I thought, good on him. He recognizes good quality entertainment. My personal favorite next to Return of the Jedi. Anyway, that was a sidebar. But then there was something I caught on to as I was watching this video. Since he gets introduced to Anakin Skywalker and then he sees the birth of his 2 kids, Luke and Leia, the I am your father twist in Empire Strikes Back is therefore ruined in a way, as some people in the comments of that video were quick to point out. That's one thing I think we need to ask any newcomer to this franchise, because there are new people coming in every day. Everybody else is not going to experience Star Wars the same way that most people did as they came out over time. Big question that you gotta ask, does the newcomer know that Darth Vader is Luke's father? Most people on this planet, I think, know that, whether or not they've seen the movies. No, I Am Your Father is famous for a reason. I have seen various YouTube videos of kids reacting to that for the first time and going, no way, really? But then I came across this one with an adult woman watching it with her friends, and she had no clue, apparently, that Darth Vader was Luke's dad.
I'm your father.
What? Really?
On the one hand, it was kind of neat to see an adult react to that for the first time, but on the flip side, I couldn't help but ask, how do you not know about that? It's so embedded in pop culture by now that it's almost impossible to avoid. Still, it was a great reaction. I guess maybe chronologically it would make more sense, because you do the prequel trilogy, and then you have the 2 spin-offs in between, Solo and Rogue One, then the originals, and then the sequels. But then there comes the question of the television shows that have come out. Clone Wars and Rebels, obviously you could fit them in between prequel and originals. But with the newer stuff, Mandalorian, Ahsoka, and the Kenobi series, how they fit into the timeline as well. Obviously, that's going to require a lot more watch time, but the Kenobi series does enhance the events of the original trilogy, particularly this line in Return of the Jedi.
Then my friend is truly dead.
Then my father is truly dead.
And it makes more sense as to why Obi-Wan didn't get so emotional when he saw Darth Vader in A New Hope. A few years from now, this might actually be more fun to talk about with the newer films and shows that they've announced, with the Mandoverse movie that's being made by Dave Filoni, and the Solo Rey film that takes place 15 years after The Rise of Skywalker, which, depending on how the quality goes, might cause some people to look back on the sequels in a different light. We're already kind of starting to see that on Twitter. I follow some profiles that actually advocate positively for the sequel trilogy, so to all of you who say that the sequel trilogy will never be loved, well, you need to get around. Not to get on a big tangent, but just saying. I guess I probably answered my own question. Maybe I do prefer the chronological way, but when all's said and done, I don't really know which way is the best way. I think there's pros and cons to all three. Everybody's gonna have their own preference though. In any case, which order do you guys think is the best? Chronological, machete, or release? Just comment below and tell me what it is, and as always, see you in the next one.